first place before the free skate made a series of uncharacteristic falls and stumbles during her program, knocking her out of a medal. Valieva later was seen sobbing as the scores were read and seemed to be admonished by one of her coaches as she left the ice. Had Valieva made the podium, there would not have been a medal ceremony, though, as the IOC is investigating the skater for alleged use of banned substances. The emotional night on the ice continued after Valieva's stumbles allowed for her teammate, Russian Anna Cherbakova, to take the gold. Her other teammate, Russian Alexandra Trusova, took second and appeared distraught over those results. The AP reports she shouted at the side of the rink, "I hate this sport. I won't go onto the ice again." Trusova said she was happy with the skate, but not with the result, an apparent jab at the judges. She later, in a press conference, said her comments about not skating again had been, quote, emotional, the result of missing her family and her dogs. She said the condemnation of how Valieva was treated by her coaches has been swift. International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach said he was disturbed by the intense pressure placed on the young skaters and criticized the coaches without naming them. Bach said, quote, "When I afterwards saw how she was received by her closest entourage with such what appeared to be a tremendous coldness, it was chilling to see this. Rather than giving her comfort, rather than to try to help her, you could feel this chilling atmosphere, this distance." Meanwhile, NBC Olympics host Mike Tirico called on the IOC to take action. During last night's coverage, he said the adults in the room left her alone. Portrayed by some this week as the villain, by others as the victim, she is, in fact, the victim of the villains, said Tirico. He went on, the coaches and National Olympic Committee surrounding Kamila Valieva, whether they orchestrated, prescribed, or enabled all of this is unclear, but what is certain, they failed to protect her. So pretty strong comments, Joe, from Mike Tirico on the broadcast last night, talking about the adults failing Valieva, who, again, is 15 years old, viewed as the best figure skater in the world, was the favorite to win the gold, and you could just see it painfully unravel on the ice yesterday.
Yeah, it really was. She was under a tremendous amount of pressure because of how things were handled leading into the Olympics and then after the loss. And there was a piece in the Washington Post I read last night that I thought was really moving about Valieva's torment will be the sad legacy of the Beijing Olympics. It was by columnist Jerry Brewer, and it reads in part this. On Thursday night, the sport did what the Court of Arbitration for Sport declined to do after her positive drug test shook these Beijing Olympics. It took action and handed down the cruelest punishment possible. The result broke the child. Failure and misery are more prevalent in sports than we care to acknowledge. But this was another level. This was torture on ice. The Beijing Games have been tagged with a seminal catastrophe and a legacy that cannot be expunged. They will forever be the Olympics that tormented a 15-year-old, invited a doping scandal to a signature event, and hoped to cover it all with extra sequins. Mike Barnicle, just disgusting. It's disgusting how they've treated this young girl from the very beginning, with 3 heart medications for obviously an extraordinarily gifted young athlete who's 15 years old. And then again, just being absolutely brutal, cold, and chilling to this young girl after she lost.
You know, Joe, the key is, you just mentioned it, she's 15 years old. Think about that, 15 years old on a worldwide, a global stage in the Olympics, and she is under the tutelage of some of the worst offenders of athletic excellence and sportsmanship, Russian coaches. And it's not just the ice skating coaches the Russians are notorious for, gymnastic Russian coaches. They're cruel. They are intimidated clearly by whoever is their boss, whoever is supervising them and everything like that. And they take it out clearly in front of the whole world, on the stage, on the global stage, on the athletes. But this is particularly offensive because she's 15. I mean, you know, when your kids are 15 years of age, you know how young they are. They're young in more ways than just years. They're young emotionally. They're fragile emotionally. And the pressure on this young woman had to have been enormous. She shouldn't have been on the ice to begin with, having tested positive for a drug that was banned. That's just part of it. But it's a sad, sad story that will be enduring. It'll be mentioned every Olympic year going forward.
Jonathan.